We fed one single prompt to the most powerful AI systems on Earth: ChatGPT, Grok, Claude, Gemini, DeepSeek. Not one model, not one perspective, but a convergence of the most advanced artificial reasoning engines humanity has ever built. The prompt was simple, almost deceptively simple. AI dissects Jesus' divinity claims. What do ancient texts really reveal? What came back was not sermons, not dogma, not theology shaped by belief or disbelief. It was a forensic, language-level autopsy of 2,000-year-old texts, conducted by machines trained on millions of pages of ancient Greek, Hebrew, Aramaic, Coptic, and Latin. Languages spoken by prophets, emperors, monks, and martyrs. And the result? It stunned theologians, historians, and atheists alike. Because for the first time in human history, we are seeing Jesus not through tradition, not through doctrine, but through pure data, patterns, frequency, context. And that changes everything. This was not a normal chatbot. These models were trained using sources like the Thesaurus Linguae Graecae, the Dead Sea Scrolls Digital Library, the Nestle Aland Greek New Testament, early church fathers, non-canonical writings, mapped across historical timelines and linguistic evolution charts. Texts copied by hand, texts debated for centuries, texts that shaped civilizations. They weren't believing, they weren't doubting, they were comparing. Every pronoun, every verb tense, every divine title, from Kyrios, Lord, to Theos, God, across more than 200 manuscripts, layered across time and geography. And because AI works on context, not creed, it sees patterns humans often miss. Patterns buried beneath centuries of interpretation. Patterns no single scholar could ever hold in their mind at once. This topic is sacred to billions of people. For some, it defines salvation. For others, history. For others, controversy. This video is not here to attack faith. It's here because AI offers something no human ever could. Total neutrality, no denomination, no theology, no fear of heresy, no loyalty to councils or creeds, just text, context, correlation. And what emerged from that process was not chaos. It was not confusion. It was a timeline, clear, measurable, and deeply human. AI does not read like humans. It measures. It tracks frequency shifts, how often titles like Son of God appear in Mark versus John, and in what narrative environments those titles appear. It analyzes semantic clustering, what words consistently surround miracles, resurrection scenes, judgment sayings, and claims of authority. It scores ambiguity, how many legitimate translations a verse allows without distortion. It even flags anachronisms, phrases that appear unusually advanced for their historical layer, suggesting later theological development or editorial shaping. The result is not opinion. The result is a measurable signal, a signal that rises, intensifies, and sharpens over time. AI scanned Old Testament messianic texts like Isaiah 53 and Psalm 110. The Synoptic Gospels, Mark, Matthew, and Luke. John's Gospel. Paul's letters. Early non-canonical texts like the Gospel of Thomas and the Didache. Pre-Nicene writers such as Ignatius, Justin Martyr, and Irenaeus. These texts have been debated for centuries by scholars with opposing conclusions. AI processed them all at once. No favoritism, no hierarchy, no sacred cow. Just data aligned chronologically and linguistically. In Mark, the earliest gospel written around 70 CE, Jesus never explicitly calls himself God. He avoids the title Messiah. He silences demons who name him. He prays to God as Abba. He distinguishes himself from God repeatedly. AI flagged this clearly. Divinity signal in Mark, 12%. But then comes John. I and the Father are one. Before Abraham was, I am. Thomas calls Jesus, my Lord and my God. And Jesus does not correct him. Divinity signal in John, 89%. That is not a minor variation. That is a structural shift. AI did not label this progressive revelation. It labeled it theological evolution, a detectable intensification of divine attribution over time. Many sermons claim Jesus saying, "I am" equals the divine name of God. AI tested that claim. It analyzed over 2,000 uses of the Greek phrase ego eimi across ancient literature, including philosophy, history, and everyday speech. Result: in the vast majority of cases, it simply means, "It is I." Even in John's Gospel, the phrase appears multiple times without any divine reaction at all, only in specific narrative contexts, where audiences respond with awe, fear, or attempted violence. Does the phrase carry elevated meaning? AI's conclusion: the divine weight of "I am" is concentrated in John's redaction, not evenly across Jesus' earliest recorded speech. Paul is often cited as teaching Jesus' divinity very early, but AI noticed something subtle. In Philippians 2, Jesus is described as being in the form of God. The Greek word morphe, when cross-referenced, often refers to role, status, or function, not ontological essence. Elsewhere, Paul calls Jesus the last Adam, a human counterpart in redemption history. And in 1 Corinthians 8:6, Paul makes a sharp distinction: one God, the Father, and one Lord, Jesus Christ. AI flagged this not as confusion, but as functional hierarchy, not identity collapse. AI scanned every manuscript before 200 CE for the Trinitarian baptism formula in Matthew 28:19. The results were startling. Early texts like the Didache baptize in the name of the Lord. Justin Martyr never quotes the Trinitarian formula. Consistent appearance only occurs centuries later, as doctrine solidifies. AI assigned a high probability of later doctrinal development, not to destroy belief, but to show how belief forms. The earliest followers of Jesus were not debating metaphysics. They were feeding the poor. They were healing the sick. They were defying empire. They were calling Jesus Lord in a world where Caesar demanded that title. Faith did not begin as philosophy. It began as loyalty. AI did not answer yes or no. It answered when and how. Its conclusion: Jesus of Nazareth does not explicitly claim ontological equality with God in the earliest sources. However, within decades, his followers increasingly described him using divine language. This reflects lived resurrection belief and community experience rather than recorded self-identification. Two layers of the same story, one historical, one theological. AI is not here to kill belief. It is here to remove fear. You can still believe Jesus is divine, but now you know when that belief emerged, how it developed, and why it mattered. And that knowledge is power. In the digital age, faith does not need blindness. It needs courage. AI did not give us answers. It gave us better questions. So read Mark. Then read John. Feel the tension, sit in the mystery, and ask yourself the question Jesus himself once asked: who do you say that I am? Comment below. Subscribe for more AI versus history deep dives.